Welcome everyone. It's great to see you here this morning on our briefing and Q&A session on our data competition, A Map with a View, in association with Ordnance Survey. Just before we get started, a tiny bit of housekeeping. In line with all of our JGI events at the University of Bristol, then we have a code of conduct for both in-person and online events. So I'll just drop a link to that in the chat now. And whilst you're having a look at the chat, just to check you can find it, please feel free to introduce yourself. Just let us know who you are, where you're from. It'd be lovely to meet some of you. So we're here, whilst we're doing that, we're here today to talk about our data exploration and data visualization competition. And we're joined, very luckily, by some colleagues from Ordnance Survey who are running, helping us run the competition. So they've got their videos on the call as well. So we've got David Holland, who's just given us a wave, and Jamie Young and James Gillespie. I don't know if you want to do a little quick introduction as to who you are.
Yep, I'm David Holland. I'm in the innovation team within Ordnance Survey, and most of my team's work is to do with extracting data from new sources, processing data to make new products. So at the moment we're looking at mainly collecting 3D information to make 3D models. And my team, some of whom are here, include James and Jamie. So James, do you want to say who you are?
Yeah, good morning. I'm James, also in the innovation team at Ordnance Survey, and yeah, very similar to David. Most of our work revolves around looking at new and hopefully exciting ways to extract data from various different sources to create new forms of mapping or new data to be used in mapping. I'll hand over to Jamie now.
Thanks, James. Morning, everyone. I'm a data scientist in the innovation team, along with David and James. Looking forward to chatting over this competition with you all.
Thank you very much. And I should have said, my name is James. I'm a data scientist at the Jean Golding Institute at the University of Bristol. If you don't know, the Jean Golding Institute is the University Research Institute for Data Science and Data Intensive Research. And we're also joined by our manager, John Newby, as well. So welcome, John, to say hi.
Hi, yeah, I'm the manager in the Jean Golding Institute, and I'm supposed to manage the institute.
And it's great to see people introducing themselves in the chat. Hi, morning, Alan, Matt, Marina in the chat as well. Nice to hear from you. So the challenge that we've set is linking together some of the open data products that Ordnance Survey provide and using them to work out places of points of interest that people are likely to want to visit. And there's a little bit of a summary that we've got here. Everyone has a different preference on where they might want to go and visit, what might make a place a good place to visit. Some people might be interested in open spaces, some people might be interested in visitor attractions that they can go and see. The reason that it's called a map with a view is that it might be that it's somewhere that's at high elevation, so up a hill somewhere, that it also has a cluster of these points of interest nearby that maybe people want to visit. And some of the data sources that Ordnance Survey kindly make available as part of their open data products have this information within them. And the challenge and the competition is to use this data to identify these places and then produce some kind of app or visualization. We've left that very open, so it's open to your interpretation. We kind of don't want to lead people too much, but to allow people or users to discover the places that are of particular interest to them. I'm going to dive right in just to show you some of the data sources that are available, and then we'll hear towards the end, if any of you have any questions, then the colleagues from Ordnance Survey are here and they can answer those questions as well. So I think really the recommended way of viewing these data sets is through the OS Data Hub, which is available. There's some links on the slides here, and before everyone gets too concerned about copying all the links down, this presentation with all the links embedded is going to be shared afterwards and made available, as will the recording of the session. So don't worry about taking them all down. There is a link going into the chat now. If you want to just go to our website, this will be the page where the presentation and the recording will appear after the session. So having a look at the Open Data Hub, I'll just bring it up on the screen here. There's a whole list of all of the open products, and they're free to access, that are provided by Ordnance Survey. So I'll just scroll through them here. There's a long list, and you're very much welcome to use any of these products in addressing the challenge. There are a few products that we've taken advice from the people at Ordnance Survey, then we'd like to highlight as part of the competition. So I'll just switch back to slides a second. The first product is OS Open Zoom Stack, which is a comprehensive base map of GB, and it shows coverage from a wide area right down to street level. And again, I'll just show you a quick link to the page where that's available. There's lots of information, and there's a technical specification as well. So if I'll just scroll down the page just to kind of show you what information is there. There's all the license information, which these products are all available on the Open Government license, so they're free to access and free to use. And then there's also technical specification information, which tells you what kind of format that the data is available in, and both the data sources we're mentioning here are available in multiple formats. And ZoomStack especially has lots of different layers. So, for example, you might be interested in building information, so there's a layer with buildings in, but there's also a layer with green spaces in, and I'll show a little bit of a demo of some of those things and how they relate to Bristol in a second. The other one of the two products that we'd like to highlight is OS Terrain 50, which is a topology data set. So it gives you information on land heights, hence the name of the competition, a map with a view looking at high elevation points. So again, there's some comprehensive data available, or sort of information available on the website about this product, with information on how to download it. And there's a little demonstration as well, where you can change the angle of the sun and show where shadows would be on the land, which is quite cool as well. Again, so there's a technical specification, and a lot of the terms that are used within all the documentation are very well explained. So you've got good explanation of what all the terms and the sort of names used within the data set are, which is really useful. I know from other projects that having a comprehensive data dictionary is usually one of the things that you don't have, and you just get thrown a data set. So it's really nice that all of these products have those features. And finally, there's a new service that OS have produced, which is in the lab section of their website, which is called their Data Hub Explorer. So that's what I'll show you now. And this is really nice because it allows you to select a product from the left-hand side. So what theme are you interested in? I've just selected all here. And then within that, you can select a product, and you can see a lot of these products here have ZoomStack and then open afterwards. So these are the ones that are available through ZoomStack. So for example, here I've selected green space, and you can click on View Sample. You might recognize this as part of Bristol. And then you can zoom in and you can see what are the shapes that are available within the data set. So each one of these shapes corresponds to one of the GIS data points. And then you can click on the shape just to get a little bit of information about it, a sort of a summary of what would be in the data set. So here you can see this one's a public park or garden. the other reason why this tool is really useful is because if you scroll down on the left-hand side, it has instructions on how to use their Data Hub API, which you can use to access ZoomStack. And there's some sample code here, sample codes in Python. So it should be, if you want to go down the API route of accessing the data, it should be very, very easy to get up and running using the sample code here if you're using Python. You can also, if you want to use other tools and that you don't want to use the API, then you can download the data sets from the OS website as well. Friends at ONS, have I missed anything that you think I should draw people's attention to?
Just that the library, the Python library for the Data Hub Explorer is available on PyPy, so you can load it using pip.
Oh, great! So that, I think, is that called OS Data Hub?
Called OS Data Hub, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so it's actually, there's no downloading of anything, and James has just dropped the link to that in the chat now. So that's really handy and nice to see. Thanks.
There's another link too, which is on GitHub, which has examples of Python notebooks that use that API. Just drop the chat too, might be helpful.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah.
Cheers. I will see if I can just open that one now, just to show everyone. Brilliant. So I'm going to click on quick start guide. So I'll just zoom in a bit. As you can see there, they're using the OS Data Hub package, and then there's some nice examples of how to define filters and make queries of the API. Great. Well, I will switch off data sets now. Thanks very much, everyone, for inputting. And just give you a quick summary of what the competition is looking for. Again, all this information is in the application form, so I won't go through it in too much depth. It's just other than to say it's very very open what we're looking for. So we're not prescribing that it has to be a website or it has to be an infographic or something like that. It could be any kind of application, data visualization, interactive notebook, or anything like that, to help people discover these personalized regions. And that's what I think one of the key things within the competition is. We'd like them to be personalized regions of interest rather than just here are a load of interesting places that you might want to see. We're interested in seeing how these places are presented to users, but we're also interested in the approach that you take to define what these places might be. So you might want to focus on either the visualization part or the model part of the challenge. We are also free to use, as I said, any of the other open data sets from OS that I've shown on the Data Hub. And also, we'd encourage you to make use of open source software where possible. So as we've talked about Python already as an example, and if you are using the OS Data Hub package, that's an open source package. If you don't want to use a programming language and you want to use, say, a GIS package, then there are tools like QGIS, which are open source as well, so you can get up and running quickly. And we're judging the entries on things that are innovative and provide some kind of insight to the user and engage the user. I'm just going to hand over to John now, who'll just take you through the kind of timeline and sort of T's and C's bit of the competition as well.
Cool, thank you, James. I just wanted to highlight as well, we discussed you can use other data sets outside of OS, but you need to use those ones we mentioned as the core things such as OpenPlaps, for example. So the timeline, yeah, the competition started a couple of weeks ago now, and today's the Q&A session. The deadline is the 19th of August for the submission of your entries, and we will announce the awards late in August. If you need any help in the meantime, we have an Ask JGI service. Just askjgi@bristol.ac.uk. and they can help you with any queries. Next slide, please, James. So yeah, the main thing is there's a £1,000 prize for first place, and 2 runners up of £250, not thousand there. And we've got the funding from the Alan Turing Institute, so they're funding the project. Individuals or teams can enter, but to be eligible to win a prize, at least one of you needs to be a current member of staff or student, be it undergraduate or postgraduate. And the full rules and guidance are there, and we'll be sending around all the links after the session. Next slide, please, James.
I think that is it.
Cool, thank you. So that now it's open to you, the participants. Do you have any questions for ourselves or our colleagues at OS? Feel free to turn your mic on if you want to ask a question.